stop gatekeeping. No one likes a gatekeeper. Start finding ways to really personalize your experience or your offer. It goes a long way.
Welcome back to Service First. We are Proclaim. I'm Ben Wiggins, and I'm here with Ariel Fry. Ariel, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. Let's start with our icebreaker question. What is the worst service failure you have ever seen?
It's so hard for me to come up with like one example. That sounds really terrible, but specifically, I feel like there's not one that I could point out and say, well, I went to Starbucks and this sucked or whatever. But I think the biggest overarching theme that I've encountered over the years of being in service. So I've always been in some kind of service-led position. And I think the biggest thing would be if me as an employee, if I see an opportunity to go the extra mile or take it a step further or make someone feel really special, and it's going to take maybe a little bit more resources or maybe time would be lost, but the lasting impact that we would leave would be worth it, and then a manager says no. So like, say that I'm in a position where, okay, I know that this person, they've been coming in all the time. I know I'm waiting tables, right? And I know their order. I know their daughter's name. I know it's their birthday, and I want to go out and get them this elaborate bottle of wine. And I tell the manager, I'm like, listen, they're here all the time, da, 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 da. And they're like, no, that's too expensive. Or we don't have time to do that. And I think the worst service failure, just like as a theme, would be having the opportunity to go above and beyond and saying no because it's going to be more resources or time lost in that event. If that
Being
makes sense.
penny wise and pound foolish.
Yeah, it's just if we're in the service industry, we're here to serve. And that means going above and beyond and making sure that someone leaves with an experience that they go tell everybody about, because word of mouth and referral is way more important than maybe a bottle of wine. If that makes sense.
So what drove you away from 9 to 5, sit at a desk, clock in, clock out, and toward sales, business ownership, those kinds of roles and responsibilities?
It's a long story, but for the sake of time, I feel like this is something I've been trying to process for like a year and a half, maybe, about a year and a half, because my daughter is a year and a half, and she is the reason. It didn't necessarily drive me away from a real job per se, but what it did was it guided me down a different path, motherhood in general. I was in a career that I thought I would never leave. I was so excited about it. I loved it. I didn't think about anything other than that. And then I had my daughter and naively didn't know that my whole perspective of life would change and that I wanted time freedom. I wanted flexibility. I wanted to be able to drop whatever I was doing and go pick her up from school if I had to. And I mean, having her gave me a different perspective on what I wanted. But then whenever it comes to the 9 to 5, whatever career path or industry you're in, you're trading time for money. So you're on someone else's time, right? So if they need you to be somewhere at a certain time because you have X meeting or this event is going on or business hours are open from 10 to 6 or 8 to 5 or whatever it is, and you have to physically be there, that changes things as far as flexibility and everything goes. And in my previous career, I was such a workhorse. This is so bad, but one of my clients, love her, she's a dear friend of mine, she gave us all a gift at closing. And they were all rubber duckies that represented our personalities. And mine was a robot.
The robot rubber duck.
And I was like, wait, what? Like, this is how she sees me, which she meant it as a compliment, and that I'm very specific, process driven, detail oriented, all of those things. But what I realized in that moment was like, this is not me. This isn't who I am or what I hope to present as. And so I don't know. In that moment, I was like, okay, well, maybe. And I was pregnant at the time, and I was still trying to come up with, okay, what am I going to do when she gets here? How is this going to work out? So to answer your question, the longest way possible, my daughter, I think, humbled me and kind of like, hey, what do you actually want out of all of this?
She was the catalyst.
Yeah.
As in your business, what has been the hardest thing for you to read or hear? You know, business owner, you're responsible for everything, pillar to post, doorway to dungeon. What has been the hardest thing for you to see or hear?
Since I started this, I've been met with such positivity and excitement from every single person I've ever met that I explained, hey, this is what I'm doing, or these are the services I offer. So there have been things just that I've learned that you have to do within business, like accounting. And I hate numbers. So that's been kind of annoying. But if I could use experiences that kind of led to this, so it's nothing that
Sure.
okay, so I don't have anything specific in this yet. I'm sure I will. So check back with me. But there were a few things that have stuck with me that I've heard throughout my career that I will never forget. Um,
Okay.
and one of them was whenever I was on my hotel journey. I got a hospitality degree from Texas A&M. My entire dream was I'm going to be a general manager of a hotel. It's going to be a big chain. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Um, and I'm fresh out of college. I'm starting as a front office manager over 2 hotels at the same time. And my boss says, well, you really won't be able to move up positions until I retire, and I'm not going to retire. So, and I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Like, that was kind of hard to hear. But going into like my next career, I was working really hard. I was in sales. I was learning all of these things. And I was like, hotels isn't for me, but maybe this new thing, this is going to be it. Right. And so I get this huge opportunity to open our newest location. I'm going to move from Houston to Austin, and it's going to be this big sparkly thing. And my boss calls me in, and he's like, listen, we're going to be demoting you and cutting your salary by $10,000, and your responsibilities are going to increase, but it's for the betterment of the company. And I was like, okay. And I left crying that day, went home, still had to pack my bags because I'm still moving to Austin. I'm still opening this new location. And at that time, I was like, okay, maybe this is just God telling me, like, it's okay. There's bigger things coming. It'll be fine. Like, don't stress it. Well, all of that takes a turn like 2 years later, and I'm applying for this position that I have zero experience in. I have nothing to even say that I could do the job. But I was like, I think I can do this, and I've got a decent personality in sales, so I think I'll be okay. And I take all these personality tests. I do all these math tests. Again, that sucked because numbers are not my thing. They get the results back, and the guy that ends up hiring me is like, hey, your personality test stated that you shouldn't be hired for sales because you're essentially too soft. And I was like, and so here's the hardest thing to hear about that is this is a personality test that I answered the questions as honestly as I possibly could about myself. So this isn't like just a scenario that I end up in where it's not my fault. It's a direct reflection of my character. And in that moment, I was like, well, all right. But the biggest difference between all of these examples is on the third example, I'm too soft, I'm not meant for sales, whatever. He still decides to take a chance on me because he's like, yeah, that's a personality test. It's not like the end all be all. I think you can do this. Like, I believe you can do this. And so I took that and then built a career out of 4.5 years learning sales, selling $1 million homes by the end of it, all because someone took a chance on me. And even though it was hard to hear in the moment because I felt like, well, what does that mean about me? Like, am I too soft? Is it the hospitality background? Am I not a shark? I don't know. Like, what do I need to do here? It was, I guess it was, I just used it as fuel to prove that I could do it. And now being on the other side of that career and everything that I learned and being a new business owner every single day, which, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can relate. You're thinking, I cannot do this. This is insane. Like, what was I thinking? The imposter syndrome sinks in. But then I just think about that one comment and everything that I accomplished, and that's just not even true.
I'm really glad for your success and for your progress and for you overcoming that. That's well done, and congrats on your success. Go back to the part where they told, so you were already relocating, and after you had agreed to relocate, that's when they told you, "Hey, we're cutting your salary, betterment of the company, all of that bull crap." Like, what was the, like, did that ever get fully explained? Like, normally, if you're getting asked to relocate and you're like, I don't know, opening up a new office or whatever it is, you might get a raise, but at the very least, they're not going to cut your salary. So explain this to me, because this makes no sense at all.
It was, I still to this day do not know. What's even like more upsetting about it is that I'll probably never find out. It was one of those moments where you're like having this conversation, you're hearing them talk, they're pointing these things out on their fingers, like in front of you. We're demoting you, like this, counting them out. And you can't even hear them. It's like all the sound is muffled because you're just so confused. Yeah, I've done this, and this, and I love what I'm doing here, and I'm so passionate about it, and I'm excited, and I'm dropping my life here to go help you in another place, and this is what's happening. It was the most bizarre experience in my entire career up until that point. So I don't really know, and I don't think I'll ever find out. So,
Well, here we are.
yeah.
Let's go to the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So as business owners, and then also to some degree in sales, some of the triumphs you can't share with everybody. Like, you can't necessarily share everything with the whole team. And especially when you have like the ridiculous reaction, like the big commission drops in your account and you're just doing like the goose laugh or like dragon punching the air or whatever. What has been your most ridiculous reaction to a big success that you absolutely would not have done in public?
This is really hard for me because I'm so animated and I cannot hide my expression ever. And even if I'm like confused, you'll see it on my face, or if I am so excited, like sometimes I'll try to hide it, but that's even more telling because someone's like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, are you okay? Like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just trying not to show all my cards. But I think the most triumphant, like exciting moment that I've had in business was before I ever even started. So we'll back up. Riley is like 4 months old at this time, maybe 3 months old at the time. It's like November, December of 2023. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm not going back to my previous career because of conversations I've had, not in the same way that I left, right? So I'm trying to wrap my brain around what would that even look like? Like, what is going to happen now? I've put pretty much all of my eggs in that basket. I really thought I was going to die doing that. And so I'm sitting in my living room and I have Riley in my lap and I'm just trying to go through every single skill, ability, experience, everything that I've ever done, all the things that I enjoy. And then I'm trying to figure out what I can even do with that. I'm like, okay, well, I could go and apply here, or maybe I should just get a job at A&M because they've got great benefits and I know that we'll be okay. Like, maybe I should just do that. And then I was like, no, that's not right. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it and I'm like, okay, what if I started my own business? Like, what would happen? Let me just like brainstorm for a minute. What if I started my own business? What would that look like? What kind of services could I offer? Here's all the things that I did in the past. Yeah. Is there a way that I could serve business owners, but just as me and not through another company? And so then my phone rings And it's one of my old coworkers from that same career that is also a really good friend of mine. And I hadn't talked to him in a couple of months. And I'm kind of in this like moment of, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. So I want to cry, but someone's calling me, so I have to answer it kind of thing, you know? And so I like answer the phone. I'm like, hey, how are you? And he's like, hey, I've been thinking about you. You know, how are things going? How's Riley? How's being a mom? And I was like, I really don't know, like almost in tears, you know, like I don't know
It's
what to do.
fine. It's fine.
I'm okay. It's fine. It's fine. And he's like, well, hey, I have exciting news that I want to share with you, and I just want to get your thoughts on it. And I was like, okay, cool. And so he goes on to tell me that he's going to be taking over his family's business, and he's really excited about it, but he doesn't know anything about sales and marketing, and he wasn't sure what that meant, but that he wanted me to help him. And he was like, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I really want you to help me. Like, I know how persistent you are. I know that you're good at what you do because we work together and we work so closely together. And I was like the air just left my lungs. And I just am looking around like my living room thinking, okay, if this isn't a sign, I don't know what is. And if I don't see this in the moment, then what else have I missed kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so outside of having my daughter, I never felt in that moment that a prayer had been answered like that, like actually in front of my face on a phone call.
Right.
And so I teared up and I'm like, listen, it is so crazy that you're calling me right now because I literally 30 seconds ago, I was just thinking about, okay, what could I do? How could I use all of the skills and all of the things that I've learned and acquired over these 4.5 years of being with this company? Like, what is that? And I can't believe you're calling me because this is what I want to do. Like, I wasn't going to tell anybody about this, but I have to tell you because otherwise this wouldn't make sense, my response. And so he was like, well, okay, whenever you get it started, whenever you're ready, I'm going to wait for you. I want to be your first client. And I was like, okay, I got to go. Can I call you later? And I'm just sitting there.
Click.
Yeah. Like, oh, what just happened? And so I'm looking at Riley, this little 4-month-old precious angel. And I'm like, okay, I just need to go for a walk. Well, let me back up to whenever I was in sales. I would get these, I have them now. I would call them sales jitters, where you're just so excited, like your body's vibrating and you just need a minute to like process what's even happening because you feel like there's no way I just did that. There's no way I just sold this home. There's no way that this person trusts me with their investment. This is insane. I felt like that and I needed to just take a walk and figure it out, like what I just encountered. So I'm walking around my neighborhood and it's like a gorgeous day and the sun is shining and Riley's asleep in the stroller, which wasn't something that happened often. So I was like, I felt like I was walking the plains of in between like heaven and earth for a second of just, holy crap. Like it's actually, like I could actually do this. I already have one person that believes in me and all it takes is one person. So I've never told anybody outside of him. He knows about that because he was a part of it. But I've never shared that moment because it was so, for me for so long, like the validation that I've always tried to seek through others, I got it without that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. A journey to the fourth dimension.
Literally, that's what it felt like. I was like, this is not real. I like call my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm alive, right? You're hearing this right now? She's like, yeah, you're good. What are you talking about? I'm like, okay, cool, gotta go.
Are you drunk? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you asking me this for?
Yeah, I was like, I just need somebody like pinch me for a second. It was pretty crazy, but I'll never forget it because it just felt like the moment of, okay, you're in the right place. You're doing the right thing. This is all going to work out. You may not know what it's going to look like, but we're all just learning as we go anyway, right? So.
Good story. I like that. All right. So then, and this can come from any aspect of your career so far. What was the service action that you were proudest of from a coworker or team member? Something where you were like, man, if we could do more of that, if we could do it that way every time, we will win.
So in my last career, I always reference that because that's the most recent that I can recall from, obviously. But a lot of that time I was operating like on my own. I had team members, um, but every everything that I was doing kind of was like client focused. So it's just like me and the client, right? But I have a totally unrelated thing. I can bring one up from there too, but one that is more even recent was so over the years, whenever I was in that career, I worked on the opposite side of town. So I live on one side, my job was on the other. And there was a Starbucks that's on the way there, but it's far from my house. And I would always hit that one because it's on my way to work. And I got in a routine. I'm not proud of it, but I would go to Starbucks every single morning and I would go through the drive through and I never went inside because I never had time. And then after leaving that career, I picked up networking last year, which was also on that other side of town every single Wednesday. Shout out 1 Million Cups.
That's where
I
we
would,
met.
yeah. I started going there. And so I was like, you know what? If I'm really going to put myself out there in a different way that's not associating me with my previous career, I'm going to start ordering inside. Maybe I'll meet more people. Maybe I'll bump into other professionals. You know, you never know who you're going to meet. And so I started going inside and I never do a mobile order. I always order at the kiosk and I do that on purpose so that I can like talk to people and get to know them, whatever. So I'm doing this for a few months and the same guy's always there. I'm pretty sure he's management of some sort because he's always there. And finally by like the third month, he's like, Ariel, right? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he was like, I remember your name every single time because that's my sister's name. It's spelled the same way and everything. And I was like, wow, I don't meet a lot of Ariels. That's crazy. And so we kind of like talk a little bit, nothing crazy. Well,
You guys commiserated about Little Mermaid jokes.
yeah, every single time I'm like, okay, do you think of the mermaid first or the girl from Footloose? Like, which one is it? And a few weeks go by. I don't think anything of it. And then like a couple months go by. I go in and have business meetings at that Starbucks, even though it's far from my house because I just prefer like the community, right? Well, I go in and I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to switch up my order. And he's like, what? No. And I was like, yeah, I really think I'm going to switch it up this time. I order the same thing every day for like 4 years or whatever. And I switch it up. I don't like it. And I go back up there and I'm like, okay, I need to get something else. And he's like, see, this is why I told you, like, you shouldn't switch it up. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. But the moral of this story is what I'm trying to say is there needs to be more of that in every single business. Knowing people, who they are, recognizing them by name. You don't have to remember their orders or anything like that, but just talking to people in a genuine manner because we're all human and we do need to slow down and have that interaction. But the other part to this is not only did he remember me, he remembers everybody. So I have meetings in the Starbucks all the time. And just last week, I was there, had a meeting with a client, and then across from me is sitting one of my very first clients from my previous career. And I look up from my laptop and I'm like, oh my God, I know who that is. And I tell my client, I'm like, let's finish this conversation, and then I'm going to say hi. And I look up and I make eye contact with him, and he's like, oh my God, Ariel. And I was like, I wasn't going to say anything. But it's those kind of moments. And then the Starbucks employee, throughout that entire time that I'm there, he's calling every single person that walks through that door by name. So he's like, hey, Larry, hey, so-and-so. And it's crazy. And I'm like, this is what service is about. It's about the people. It's about building those relationships and building that community. And I feel like in a world where, and maybe as a millennial, this is not really like on brand, but like social media and everything that we're doing online, we're all trying to stand out in one way or another. And we forget that it's about the community that we're trying to build with one another. And I'm sure there are plenty of examples throughout my previous career of like, okay, our team, we did great. We sold this many homes or we did, whatever. But it's like the personalization of things, I think, that's, I don't know. Did that
So if
answer your
you
question?
were, yeah, you did. let's take it one step further. So if you're managing that Starbucks, but like to some degree, the guy sees Ariel 3,700 times or however many times it is, like he's gonna start remembering your name. Some people stand out to you more than others. So some people are gonna just be more memorable by nature of their energy, or like you like their sweater or whatever it is. And some people have very distinctive orders, so you're more likely to remember those people. But so let's get to where this kind of cuts a little bit. What's the action that you would, if you were the manager of that Starbucks and you're trying to get everybody to be like Joe or whatever, his name wasn't Larry. He was talking to somebody named
That's
Larry.
right. Yeah.
Okay. So whatever this guy's name is, we'll call him Joe. So if you're trying to get more people to do the kind of thing that Joe does, what do you as a leader say to your compatriots, like to the people who are, your brand reps or your baristas, or what do you tell them? Like or do you say like you're here to do relationship building, potentially at the expense of optimization, of process optimization? Like how do you manage both of those things at the same time? What does that leadership look like in your opinion?
I think it's more of how you treat your team and how you build a culture more so than what you tell them what to do. And what I mean by that is, like in my previous career, because I'm still trying to navigate some stuff in this in this new business, but I would always try to, like, if someone walks through the door, I'm always trying to anticipate their next question and answer it before they can ask. But I'm also taking note of their body language, comments they make. Are there kids with them? What kind of shoes are they wearing? Are they wearing anything that I could relate to? Or have they said anything that I could pick up on that I'm like, oh my gosh, same. It's for me, whenever I was in that position and I was training new hires, I would always tell them like, okay, someone's coming to you with a problem and you are here to fix it. But we're not going to do that in a way that's salesy or attacking them or like coming up with all of these like sales tactics. We're going to do that in a way by building a connection. And we're going to figure out what makes them tick so that we can kind of relate to them on that. And that could be anything. I mean, you're talking about people from all walks of life. There could be a guy walking in that's, I don't know, in his 60s, plays golf, and is an accountant. I am not going to relate to this guy on pretty much anything, except he might have a daughter that's my age, or he might have a son that went to Texas A&M. So you kind of have to ask those questions and figure it out. So for me, it's more of, okay, how am I treating my employees? Am I treating them? Am I celebrating their big wins? Am I celebrating their small wins? Do I meet them and greet them with excitement? Am I always trying to figure out how their day is going? Am I asking them, how are you feeling today? Am I kind of ticking those boxes for them? And then it's kind of a, I don't know what they call this. I'm sure there's a word for it, but psychologically, they're thinking that that's going to be, if that makes them feel good, then ultimately they want to do the same, I guess. So I don't know if it's anything that I would be able to say specifically, do this, do that. And I'm sure you could, but for me, it comes from a more genuine place if you're treating them the way that you would want them to treat clients.
The clients, right? Okay. Yeah, I like that. All right, now let's flip it over again. You're active on socials. You as you noted, part of what you're doing is in the marketing space. So you see the lay of the land in terms of marketing culture, business culture, media culture, social media culture. What are the trends that you don't like? Is there anyone you have a bone to pick with who's doing something that you don't like to see? What are the trends that you hope do not continue in those spaces?
See, I don't like confrontation. So
Yeah.
it's a tough question, but one of the reasons, and I'm not afraid to say this at all because this is my experience, is in previous careers, I would meet with different marketing agencies, and majority of them were specific in their offerings, right? Good, better, best. We think you fit in this bucket. This is what we're going to offer you. This is what the monthly payment is going to be. here's the criteria, whatever. The biggest thing that I was always so confused by, and still kind of am, and maybe this is just because I don't operate this way, I'm not sure, but in their sales tactic, it is, okay, let me use as many big, confusing marketing terms that I could possibly think of to talk to this business owner to make them think that maybe they'll think that I'm super knowledgeable in the space and they're not going to have any questions because it just sounds like I know exactly what I'm talking about. And then you pay for the service and then you don't even know what you're paying for at the end of the day. Or you get an analytics report or an email with a video of like, hey, this is all the stuff that we did and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, okay, but my sales didn't increase or my website traffic didn't increase. So what are you actually doing kind of thing, right? Well, business owners don't have the time usually to dissect these types of things. So they end up paying companies thousands of dollars a month and they're not even really sure what they're getting. And that's what I don't like. I don't feel like any of this has to be rocket science. Like one of the themes that I've been thinking about for like the past few weeks, especially with like the new year and everyone has new resolutions and goals and whatever, is that like none of this is that serious, you know? So what I mean by that is, okay, you're paying these companies, you're not sure what you're getting. What if there was an option out there where a company breaks it down in not layman's terms, but terms that business owners can understand, provides education. They provide you a roadmap of what they're going to be doing. They show you how it's going to be done. So if you want to take over when the project's over, you can, and you don't have to hire anybody to manage it for you. What if there's a world where that exists? And so that's kind of my bone to pick, I guess you could say, is like, we don't need to gatekeep on any of these things. I think we could all benefit from being honest and just learning as we go, because the more you know, you know. So I guess my bone to pick would be just like the gatekeeping of marketing, and I'm using that as an umbrella term, and making it so difficult to understand that business owners are just like, yeah, here's my money. It's too much for me right now, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'll be interested to see how if you have the exact same take in 3 years, or 5 years or 10 years, like how that. So my for a little like so frame of reference on this. So my take is marketing companies, in my experience, are usually great at one thing, sometimes good at a second thing, and usually not that good at everything else. And part of that is not their fault, like because marketing is a really complex endeavor. And I think so for what you're saying, I think that that's definitely possible. It is more possible the more traditional types of businesses you serve. As the businesses become techier, more B2B, like, and the nuances get crazier and crazier, I feel like it gets harder and harder to do what you're talking about. And I love the idea of simplify, that like, yeah, that I think that is the right thing for us to want, for everyone to want. I'll be interested to see how easy it is to implement and what your experience is implementing exactly what you're talking about with a variety of businesses. My guess is that for some, you actually can do that, and for some, maybe it's more challenging. I don't know. But you're really talented. I think a lot of your capabilities. So I'll be interested to see how that goes for you.
Yeah, thanks. I do think, in just my limited experience as well, my clients are kind of all over the map as far as what they do professionally. But the overarching theme is that they just need help in the one area that I happen to be good at. So I'm helping them in that area. But then as we kind of start to uncover it, there's other things that go hand in hand with that, like you're saying. Marketing isn't just one thing. And so you can be really good at one thing, which I think is kind of what helps you get those clients, but then helping them navigate the rest of it is also important in providing transparency there.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, final questions. So 10 words or less. What should people start doing in service?
If you're not already doing this, you should start finding ways to really personalize your experience or your offer. It goes a long way.
Okay. And what should people stop doing in service?
Stop gatekeeping. No one likes a gatekeeper.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Any final thoughts, Ariel? How can our viewers keep up with what you're doing?
You can go to my website. I am a web designer after all. Or you can follow me on Instagram. That's the main platform that I'm on. So Outland Design Co.
Outland Design Co. on Instagram, and then outlanddesignco.com.
Yep.
Okay. Well, viewers, give her a look. Ariel, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you taking the time to join the show, and it was our pleasure having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For our viewers, thanks again for tuning in. This is Service First. I'm Ben. We're Proclaim, and we'll see you on the next one.